Good morning, good morning, good morning. We're on StreamYard, so I don't think there's a gap. Are we straight in? How are we all? It's Saturday morning. Ooh, da 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 da. Boom. Boom. Hi Faith. Hi Sally. Hi Margaret. Hi Amy. Hi Clodagh. Hi Julie. Hi April. It's Saturday morning, and I'm in my yogic attire. I'm wearing baggies, I'm wearing sandals, I've got my Amoeba music top on because it's just so rad. I wonder if you could do it. I wonder if anyone's ever done yoga on a moving surfboard while surfing. What do you reckon, guys? Is that possible? Shauna Jean caught alive for once. Well done. Bella M. Sophie R, how are you? Rachel Marsh, need to get back to yoga. I'm at the beginning of my yogic journey.
Hello.
And yeah, I'd like to do yoga, and if my knee could cope, I'd have done surfing too, but it can't, so I don't think I'll ever be able to surf.
Why have you thought about surfing?
I was wondering whether you could do yoga on a surfboard. Or
yeah,
whether
you can. Yeah, I've seen it in Ibiza.
What, whilst catching a wave?
In fact, it was the lesson I was really upset that I missed when I went to Ibiza on the body camp retreat because of my back. Do you remember I had a bad back? That's the one thing I really
May Boo says, can you please sing Happy Birthday to my mum Sandy for last Monday? She's just joined social media at the ripe old age of 74.
Oh, welcome.
We welcome you, older
Sandy,
members.
welcome. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.
You never know where she's going to go, so it's very hard to join in, Sandy.
Happy birthday to you.
So she scats.
Oh, what I was doing was I was moving seamlessly into the fact that I was at the Adele concert last night. It's everywhere in the papers.
Yeah, no, it was.
Actually, I was just saying on Instagram, there was one review that I couldn't have agreed with more, which is how she is so confident. She's so comfortable on the stage. She sings like a dream, but my God, it was Butlins as well. Right. She had a dress on that must have been in the tens of thousands. Her outfit.
Elegance with a dash of Butlins camp cheer.
A bit more than a dash. And she was doing this really weird thing where she's going, Kaz was being so funny. She goes, I want to swing with cold blimey chairs. Anyway, she had a ring on like that. And she was just.
Why was she? Is that what?
She was walking across the stage like this. It was so weird.
Did she have like the pearls queen cap on and all that kind of stuff?
No, but she had like a chignon.
She had a chignon.
It's like this, but really smooth.
Can I just look at the photo? Is that a chignon?
Yeah, chignon, like rolled around, chignon, and
like
the earrings were beautiful. The ring, the dress must have been thousands upon thousands of pounds worth of dress. But it was funny. We all said, you know what? I would love it because she's not a diva.
No,
but she dresses like a diva.
It's weird, no?
And
my old man's a dustman. She wears a dustman.
It was real. Any mum's Alex? No, it was like, yeah. And I have to say, I found that boring.
Oh,
there was too much chat.
Oh, was there?
Way too much.
What do you think, guys?
Oh, how old are you? You 18? Oh, yeah. I don't know if I believe you're 18. It was like right. Kaz was hilarious. But the voice is impeccable, the confidence. I really, really like her as a person. I love her in interview. I think she is what she says she is. But for me, I'd have loved her in a pair of jeans with her hair down and less chat. That's my review.
Would you have preferred a more intimate gig?
Well, you can't see a fucking thing. The other thing is, because, we were down in the mosh pit, but up the back. But the screen is the only place you're going to see her. And it's out of sync. Oh. So she'll be doing this massive, big note.
So she's not out of
sync.
But
she's already finished. So
right. I see. Because the time travel.
Well, it's like my friend Tits, as a TV producer, she said there is no earthly reason for that to happen other than she's been beamed from LA. She's been beamed from
is she being live beamed? I mean, there should be a direct feed.
But that's what Tits was saying. She just couldn't understand it. But then Kaz was saying every single time she goes to Hyde Park, it's exactly the same. Staying with the Rolling Stones last week and everything. So this is my tip. Buy
an Adele album and listen to it in the car.
When we arrived, I was like, oh, let's sit here. There's hardly any crush. And they were like, no, Nadia, that's not inside yet.
You were what, in the you were in the kind of
The bit
passing
before you
through
go
area.
through. But I swear to God, if it's somebody that's doing big ballads like that they're not jumping about and dancing in your car, because she's not jumping about. Just get yourself a picnic blanket. There was people all around. You hear the music just as well as you do just the other side of that again.
Yeah, yeah.
And you won't be disconnected by the fact that it's out of sync.
Right. It sounds like there's a lot getting in the way of enjoying this.
Well, I just think sit outside. That's
Why
what
not?
I'm
How
saying.
about, can I make a suggestion? You just play her records.
No, because it was a lovely atmosphere. Zoe, I don't know if you're here. You were here. Do you agree with me about the out of syncness? Yeah, it was really annoying.
Yeah, well, the out of syncness for me, the main reason you go to big gigs is or the O2, the O2, what is it, the O2 Arena? The big one. Is you've got the guarantee that you at least will see a screen that's in sync, because you're there for the atmosphere.
Exactly.
Of course you are. And if you've got it in sync, you're kind of enjoying it at the same time.
I kept saying to the girls, Mark would hate this. Mark would be going mad. Because so imagine she goes, and she's taking a big note, but she's finished and she's walking across the stage.
That's really annoying.
It was really annoying. So in the end, guess what I did?
What did you do?
Looked away so I didn't have to see it because it was so annoying.
Clever. So you just looked on your phone. So you went to not look at her. Because
it felt like,
what did it sound like?
She was miming.
What was the sound
and she couldn't fit the mime.
That was out of sync. What was the sound quality like?
Oh, that was great. The sound quality was great, but she looked like it was like being at Butlins with it out of sync in thousands of pounds worth of.
And that's another thing. We love Butlins, but I mean, yeah, Butlins is a different experience.
No, but Butlins, and I love that sort of show. Hello, everybody, but not with a diva outfit, and also I think, I don't know what you thought, Zoe. I thought there was too much chat. I just thought there was too much.
A lot of people here saying the reason Butlins keeps coming up is that's what one of the papers described it as: diva elegance with a dash of Butlins camp cheer.
So it was pure Butlins. Any mums out there?
But isn't that precisely what her appeal is? Is that she is of the people for the people, but she's shot through and shattered the ivory tower of richness and success.
Yes, but it was too much. We and it's like that review says, people have paid from £100 upwards for her to sing, not talk. And you could have probably got another 8-9 songs in.
Okay, fair dues.
It's a lot.
Okay, well,
that's just my review.
There you go. That's your review. The other story that's been really, really, I mean, obviously it's a very, very important story, but Nadia has almost been having a go at me for not popping it further up my news list. But here it is. Questions for Johnson. What is getting you so hot under the collar about not that this story about the Tory whip who's been, allegedly has groped people severely.
No, he has. He's admitted
exactly.
It's not alleged.
Not that the story isn't. I mean, this is why is this any different to any other classic Tory sleaze story?
Right, like.
That's the question.
There's a lot that's gone on before. So this chap, Pincher, who is well known within Parliament circles, is called the Pincher because he's so well known for groping people and squeezing people's asses.
Can I just ask a quick question? But on that, do you think people grow into their names?
Well, it's quite extraordinary.
It's quite. You can't ignore the fact that that's remarkable.
So right, okay. There's quite a lot to this story. Because, and why I think it's so important is that more and more and more we are saying, oh God, well, what can we do with this government? And it was like James O'Brien was talking about, he was talking about fascism off the back of a podcast he'd done with Chris Bryant. And he was talking about, we never just get to X. We have to go to LMNOP, to get to X. Because if we just went straight to X, my God, if we just went directly to outright corruption and deceit, and we would never accept it. But it's the creeping that is just consistent with this government. So this chap Pincher, MP for Taunton, I think, also the Deputy Chief Whip.
Which is a major. If you don't know what a whip is,
so explain.
A chief whip is the bully boy or the sort of the sergeant, the government sergeant who goes into the House of Commons, and if there's any resistance or rebellion or refusal within the ranks of the Tory party when it comes to certain rules or laws, they will whip, quite literally pull into line. They will threaten. They will jostle. They
like
will,
things like they might say, or to an MP, when if they want, say for instance, and this is what's going to come up in the next
so that's
story,
a chief whip. Chief whip.
wants to get a vote for the Prime Minister. So they might go and say, oh, now you know that little sports stadium you've been asking for the money.
This is alleged.
Alleged.
This is alleged.
This is the kind of thing that I've been hearing more and more about. That this is the
unofficially,
kind of thing.
Unofficially, that's what happens. But officially, what they basically are there to do is to make sure that all the party members fall into line with voters.
But they will unofficially, they will say things like, you know, we could maybe work out, we could have a look again at the budget for your sports stadium, or we could. So there's cajoling, there's a bit of bribery, and there's like hard, fast. It's called the whip. So anyway.
So this is the deputy.
So he had wanted to be chief whip, okay, and Boris desperately wanted him as chief whip. He was the guy in charge of Save Big Dog, the Big Dog campaign. Do you remember
basically
all of that?
Make sure that Boris survives.
Boris survived.
Boris being the big dog.
So he had done a lot of whipping as chief.
He'd done
as deputy whip.
He'd done so much whipping. This is why this is the cartoon, which I think is very funny in the Times. This party needs stricter discipline. That's Boris in some S&M gear with a whip, because that's very clever. That's very funny, because of course there's no discipline in this party, and yet this is the deputy chief whip.
Okay, so now
going back to your
when he was given deputy chief whip, Boris wanted him to have chief whip, and the reason he wasn't allowed to have chief whip, and he shouldn't have been given any whip, was that he had to resign in 2017 from the whip's office. 2010, he had to be resigned from the whip's office after he had been found guilty of the most terrible behavior with an Olympic rower who he had said, oh, let's go for a drink. This is the story, all done and dusted at the time. That's why he had to resign. He'd got this Olympic rower to get in a car to go off for a drink. Got him back to his apartment, gave him a drink, to which then the Olympic rower felt very woozy and strange.
So is there a suggestion that he was drugged?
That's just that he felt woozy and strange.
That's as much as we're saying.
Yeah. This is the story that was done in the Mail at the time.
This is the story. You have to do something about this headline is basically what someone said at the Carlton Club. Yeah.
So he massaged him on his neck. He went into his toilet. He came out in his dressing gown, all of this sort of stuff. So this all came to light, and he had to resign from the whip's office in 2000.
Happy birthday, Della.
So there is no way that he should have been back in the whip's office. But Boris has huge loyalty to him, so manoeuvred things so he could. So a lot of MPs have been very unhappy about his position. So on, was it Wednesday night, Tuesday night? Anyway, a couple of nights ago, he goes to the Conservative club place, gets absolutely paralytic and was assaulting various young men. Things like, oh, I'll get you a nice job in the Parliament. We can promote you. We can do all this
Power hungry.
Stuff. Yeah.
Claire Ross Reed, we'll check it.
What is it?
It's just she hasn't received a card yet. We'll check. Okay. We've got the list to go through.
So he was lurching towards men, drunkenly propositioning. This is all eyewitness reports. It was completely out of control. In the end, they had to frog march him into a cab, put him into a cab. He couldn't speak. He couldn't say. This is the deputy whip, right? There was immediately complaints made to the parliamentary, whatever they are, about this sexual assault. Boris didn't want to. He said, I have to go through all the process and everything. And apparently MPs and a lot of people in the Tory party have been really, really unhappy with this, because this is just another... Unhappy enough to do anything about getting rid of him, we'll see. But I just think in plain sight, this man has sexually assaulted, he's admitted to it, he's done it previously. And Boris was trying to keep him in his job because he had done... because of his loyalty to Boris.
Well, I mean, it's kind of obvious why this is the case, isn't it? Because he doesn't like firing people, because he's worried that everything he's either promised them or everything that they know will spill out into the press. So I presume this guy will know as a deputy whip, as a chief whip, whatever. He'll not only know all the worst, he'll know absolutely everything about everyone in every capacity. So this guy is obviously a loaded gun waiting to go off, because there would be no other reason for Boris to essentially, prevaricate and filibuster over making what needs to be quite a clear decision on this.
But why I think it's such an important story, and why I think it's such a dangerous turn of events, is our children are growing up seeing our government allow lies, obvious lies, and now to make excuses for sexual assault, like they did a bit with the guy that recently they were covering for him as well. And I think that really sets a bad example, makes it again more difficult for victims to come forward. I mean, in plain sight, in a club with everybody complaining, and he was still going to be covered for. I think now there has been pressure, and he's removed his whip. But he still hasn't resigned as an MP. And the problem with this is, they say if he resigns within 10 minutes, there'll have to be a by-election at Taunton, and the Tories will lose.
Yeah, exactly. So there's all sorts of, it's all about propping up
a very fucked up government.
And I promise you, they're all desperately hoping that Keir Starmer gets done on this bloody Beergate, because it will be a total distraction, and they'll be able to sweep all of this under the
Do you know who I think should stand in for Keir Starmer? And I think she'd do brilliantly. Oh God, what's her name?
I don't know.
She's a very famous MP that I love on Loose Women. That's come. Her name will come to me. I think she's brilliant.
Is that the same story?
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't show that. That was just another headline there. Last groping Tory has been suspended. Anger at delay as Pincher. I just still can't quite get my head around the fact he's called Pincher.
I know. And then is known in the house
as the Pincher. Well,
Pincher.
That's an incredibly uninventive nickname, isn't it, for a man called Pincher?
It's just accepted. I mean, remember, I know lessons learned from people like, and I'm not in any way claiming that he's a paedophile or anything. We don't know. But have lessons not been learned that when you make a joke and you make it allowable, like with Jimmy Savile, he's a bit weird, he's a bit of a pincher.
Yeah, it sanctions the behaviour.
It sanctions the behaviour.
Absolutely. You're going to see lots of stories knocking about. In LA, for example, COVID cases are at an all-time staggeringly eye-watering level. Mandatory mask wearing is coming in various sectors, and like film and TV and all that sort of stuff. But I see what the reason for these increase in stories is. Yes, the numbers are going up, but once again, hospitalizations and deaths are not in any way dramatically going up. It is so that they can encourage a booster jab this autumn. But we can't lose sight of the fact that we must be jabbed to within an inch of all of our lives. And that's not to say that we're not pro the fact that the vaccine works and all that kind of stuff. But I do think that there is a direct connection between these stories and the sort of enthusiasm with which the press and the government jump on them, and people like Pfizer in the background just going, come on, let's get another jab in the arm.
I think I was actually quite reassured yesterday, because I met up with Hannah and Kaz and Tits, and Hannah had just been to the Royal Marsden for her horrendous weekly injections, and there was no masks. Mask on that optional at the Royal Marsden. Now, 2 weeks ago, they weren't.
Right.
So if in somewhere like the Royal Marsden they are saying
that is a good sign.
I was like, I felt a bit
exactly. I mean, we've got to look at all these other signs too. So it's and we'll have a bad flu season too. What's this story here?
Do you do a few more?
Yeah, I'll do a few more. Well, obviously, Wimbledon's on. And there's a worry.
He didn't know that this morning. He said to me, "Is Wimbledon actually on?" I was really surprised you didn't know.
I used to really like Wimbledon. And I have to say, the reason I've lost interest in Wimbledon, I'd love to know what Kay and Ian think of this, is that I think the tennis playing has become more boring over the years. It's more and more baseline, long serves, smashing it back and forth. None of those really interesting in at the nets, volleys and all that. You get volleys, but anyway, that's my reason. But of course, cost of living crisis has meant that it's the lowest number of people have attended since 2004. Not even since the pandemic. This is since 2004. And so, bless her, there's obviously this Heather Watson who's got through to the final 16, our British number 2, and she's pleading with people to come and watch her as she potentially gets through to the next round. So Wimbledon is happening, but you'd be forgiven for thinking it wasn't.
What's the prices of Wimbledon?
Well, they range. They
what's like the minimum?
I don't know what the.
Well, I mean, it just must be that.
Yeah, I don't know. But I mean, I think. But also, the organisers, the Lawn Green Tennis Green, whatever organisation, have said that they're going to have to start laying people off because there simply aren't enough people to serve. Which is mad, isn't it? I mean, it really is. You know, there's not enough people to actually be giving
well,
strawberries
maybe they
and cream
should
to.
reduce their ticket prices, because it's better to sell a ticket for a tenner than for 50.
Precisely what I thought. Couldn't agree more.
This story.
There she is. No, there she is. Go on, yeah, far away.
This is a beautiful, heartbreaking story. I wept as I danced with family whose son had died but given me life.
Right.
So Scott Rutherford was given the heart of John Carter, who died at age 33 from a brain tumor. Scott was 15 at the time. And he described himself, I was a blue boy who was dying. I was given this heart and given life. He's now, he's in his 20s or 30s. Anyway, he's a grown man now. And by a chance meeting years ago, which was a sort of celebration of people that have had heart recipients and families, he happened to meet the family of the man whose heart he had got.
Oh, wow.
And they've become friends.
Wow.
And it was recently the sister of the dead man's wedding. And they invited Scott to the wedding.
Wow.
And it makes me cry. And his sister, and the sister asked him to dance the first dance with her.
Oh, don't.
And it was I Don't Want to Miss a Thing by Aerosmith.
Oh.
Yeah. John's mum came over to Scott and said when Scott had got married, they'd also played that tune. So don't you think that's just so beautiful? Did I explain that? Was it understandable?
It was a bit.
So the man received the heart
yeah.
from a man who died from a brain tumor when he was a child. He grows up, meets the family of the donors, and then he had the first dance, the donor's sister.
That is beautiful. And there are the images of the dance. That is beautiful.
Really
is beautiful.
beautiful.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Just taking stock there. Didn't want to crash in with my next story. Could it be any more white? The creator of Friends has apologized for a lack of diversity in Friends. And I just wondered, when you look at something historic like Friends, and there is zero diversity, next to zero diversity in it, is it something to be,
ashamed of?
Yeah. I mean, Marta Kaufman, who's one of the co-creators of it, had said in the past that she felt it was unfairly singled out for the absence of people of colour, but realised she'd been wrong following the civil rights uproar of 2020. So she's made a donation, a $4 million gift, to an African-American study department at a college that I think she was at. But
I think it's very sad if one woman feels responsible.
Yes.
I think for us to be made to feel ashamed about a past when there was no shame, but was very, very wrong. It was wrong. We are moving forward, hoping for change. Going back and looking for people to shoot is crazy. I really do think. I don't think we should. It's like when you look at things like, I don't know, really obviously horrendously racist programs that we used to laugh at. Some of them my dad was in. Like Mind Your Language and these things.
Yeah, but I mean, I suppose some of those programs were outwardly racist. I think that's very different.
I didn't know they were racist.
No. But I think they can be called it. I think the thing that's difficult about Friends is it has as much of a presence in the schedules of many, many channels today. It's out there. People come to it for a first time still today. So, by talking about it, I suppose you're explaining why this was the case. I mean, Wonder Woman makes an interesting point. Really good point. Wonder Woman says certain people are saying, where was the diversity in Fresh Prince, which was a family, not friends? Me Too. I don't know why people keep calling back to diversity in Friends. It was more important to have the right mix to create the comedy. I mean, I think it's much more important what you do now. It's important to learn from the past.
And to have the conversations, but not to have anger, not to have finger pointing, not to have, retribution.
Yeah.
Let's have the discussion and go, fucking hell.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't believe how ignorant we were.
Yeah.
Some of the things I used to say in the 70s with absolutely no knowledge that I could be hurting anybody. Things I used to say, my own inner racism to my own family, like I was saying the other day, how those certain teachers wouldn't even try and say my second name.
Right.
And I would apologize when I'd spell out my name. Oh, I'm sorry, we've put the H in. Oh, why is it there? So all that stuff now that we now are awake to.
Yeah.
is amazing, and we just want to be woken more without being battered for the past.
Passive aggressive, I remember Friends was criticised at the time, and the writers did choose to ignore it. That's interesting.
Oh, I don't remember that.
No, I don't. Just a quickie before you do yours. Firms fall for the naked attraction of the buff pound with boom in naturism events. Could you go naked on a beach?
No. I would love to.
Would you like to go naked?
I would love to. I'm not there yet with my body. I can't do it. I can't. My body acceptance is not there. I don't want to be with other naked people either.
No, I mean because that falls into sort of swingers party, doesn't it?
No, it doesn't. I think there are truly people that are totally happy with their body, and it's the most natural thing in the world. Not everybody who's a nudist is a perv.
Well, no, but
at all.
Okay, well, I'm going to ask this question. Okay, you say that. But is there not something inherently odd about a man standing on a beach with his hands on his hips and his penis out in front of him, not erect, but just there, with a beach full of people, young family people, most of whom are either at the most topless bathing? Isn't there something inherently strange in a man standing with his hands on his hips who could easily claim, I'm a naturist?
Right. I think culturally for us, it's inherently weird. I think we are very, very tight about nudity. I mean, my German friend just can't understand it. She just finds it so bizarre. In Sweden,
I noticed you were having that conversation naked, weren't you, in the kitchen the other day? Yeah.
We are very straight. We see nudity and we think it only means sex.
Yes.
So women have their breasts out.
Yeah.
But the majority of men don't see breasts as anything other than sexual. It's not about feeding a baby. It's about it being a sexual part of a woman's body. But the penis is something that we can only assume if somebody gets it out, it's for a sexual reason. I don't want to see other men's penises.
Well, Jen Lake says, saw a woman in Ibiza last year, starkers, complete exhibitionist, loads of kids around, and she was lying with her legs wide open.
Yeah, I mean for me, it's a case, I wouldn't sit next to somebody that was lying with their legs wide open. I wouldn't be lying with somebody with their legs wide open. I don't want to be passing, it's not just kids, just other humans with my nun hanging out, as I walk to the sea. But that's just my taste thing. But I wouldn't judge anybody else for doing it. But like, I had a swim in the sea in Ibiza last week, and I just took my bikini top off and just tied it round my bikini bottoms, because the feeling of swimming without anything on. I
understand that, but you're underwater at that point, which is kind of okay. Like
so
Catherine Clausen says, they do in Denmark, usually old men strutting. That's my point. It's usually old men strutting around. And
do you think they think it looks nice and we like to look at it?
Of course they do. Well, I don't know if they think it looks nice. I just don't think they care. I mean, this spills into
boys, but walking around on the beach with the penis out just looks silly.
And this obviously spills into something I'm going to talk about on the weekly rushes actually this week, is the Hugo Spears story of the guy from the Full Monty who has been fired for precisely thinking someone might want to see him standing around with his bits and bobs out. Okay,
so rude.
So rude. Just because you're in a film called The Full Monty, or a series, they're doing a series of it. And so your final stories, Nats.
Oh, okay. Well, this is have we got time for it?
Yeah, I'm just going to run through.
This is Jerry Hall, and now you know that we love Succession. How many of you have watched Succession?
Oh my God,
we love it, and it's widely assumed that it's based on the Murdoch dynasty. And my God, this story today is the script of Succession.
Can I just ask, is it true? I was reading this whilst lying in bed this morning, and did he do it by email?
So he's 91, and he sent an email to Jerry Hall, who's completely in love with him. She's just said this. She's absolutely shocked and horrified. He has emailed her saying the marriage is over and only contact me through my lawyers. Wow. She's absolutely heartbroken. She is blaming the children. Again, so Succession-like. She says that through COVID, they've been married 6 years, through COVID, she became militant about people being around him.
Right.
Because she didn't want him to get COVID and die.
Yeah.
And the children, this is just from her words, of course, we don't have anything back from the family. She believes, took umbrage with this, and has played a big part in in the way that her husband now thinks.
So the stepchildren are characterizing her as being controlling of him, I guess,
Yeah,
and all of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
She said they clearly
I'm
mistrusted her.
astonished that at 91, I mean, he, clearly what that says is he feels that he could potentially head off to pastures new. I mean, there's no lack
I was quite surprised to realise that his first wife he was with for 3 decades.
Wow.
And she got the highest ever payout, 1.5 billion.
But isn't he been with Jerry Hall for 16 years or something? No,
6 years.
He
was with Miss Wendy Deng. Do you remember when Wendy Deng punched that guy in the face because she threw
I do. It was a little bit like when Bjork went batshit crazy at the airport. Do you remember when the photographer tried to?
So they split. There was speculation at the time when he split up with Wendy Deng. I never knew this, speculation, not fact, that she had grown very close to Tony Blair, who is the godfather of hers and Mr. Murdoch's daughter.
Wow.
So he's got 6 children, and yeah, they ain't happy with Jerry apparently.
Okay. Well, there you go.
But there's also rumours that he couldn't stand her smoking and drinking.
Oh, right, really? Such a bit of a,
but she says no, that's not
potentially an offset. Okay, well, I'm just going to give you a little run through some silly stories. Blunderbird. This is a racing pigeon that's got so lost it flew 5,000 miles to the United States of America, and it's now trying to fight its way back. He thought his prize-winning bird was a goner when he failed to arrive home after 3 weeks, but it turned up in a garden in Alabama.
Oh.
Now, do you like scrotums, Nat?
No, I do not like one. I could never eat a whole one.
That's the racing pigeon, by the way, that got lost. Doc, do you know that my scrotum is whistling? Just wait for the silence. Doctor spent 2.5 years treating the first man ever to be diagnosed with a whistling scrotum. He had a hole left in his, I won't read the whole detail of the story, but he had a hole left in his scrotum from a previous operation, so that whenever he breathed in and breathed out, it would emit a whistle. And he'd been wondering for 2.5 years, where's that sound coming
from? Oh, that's
from?
quite funny.
And it was his scrotum.
Oh my God, he was really irritated by his own
scrotum. He was being wolf whistled by his own bollocks.
Good God.
Isn't that something? Wolf whistled by your own bollocks.
Can I just quickly do this one?
Of course.
I forgot this one. So this is Dr. Michael Mosley.
Yeah.
Interesting. He says the disease he is most afraid of is dementia.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I saw that. Yeah.
And a key ingredient in the new super shake is something called duckweed.
Oh, boost your brain by drinking
duckweed. So this is a recent, quite good study in Israel. Compared the impact of low-fat diet, a Mediterranean diet, and a green Mediterranean diet, which is like the Mediterranean diet, but also includes this green tea with this duckweed that comes from Southeast Asia. Absolutely packed with protein and
nutrients. Let's get some. Let's do it. Duckweed coffee.
Yeah. Anyway, so it showed up that it encourages the production of new brain cells. The other things that he says that you absolutely must do, he never misses his yearly eye and ear test. He said, as soon as you are told that you might need an ear thingy, get it. And the reason for this, failing sight and failing hearing loss makes the brain work harder in a way that disables it from storing memories.
Right.
Isn't that interesting?
That is interesting.
Another one is invest in as many plants as you can in your house, because the pollutants that come in from the fumes when we live on a main road, very damaging to the brain. And the other one, this is good for us, Mark, because we've talked about this a lot, start painting or drawing.
Oh, there we go.
No, they had incredible results. They had they did a study where they had 2 groups of people and they put them both on the Mediterranean diet and all the other stuff that we know is really good for you. But one of the groups also had painting, drawing classes. He now does it all the time.
Oh, wow.
Michael Mosley, because it was so impressive, the increase in cognitive tests. The cognitive tests done after the painting and drawing they had increased much more than this group that had it.
Fantastic. Well, that's
interesting.
It is interesting.
So I'm buying plants today. I'm signing us up for a drawing lessons.
I'm
We're doing a lot.
Drawing a lesson already. Final story. I'm just staggered and amazed that the Sun can say this quite as boldly as they do about Kate Moss. Kate back on Coke.
I know.
Diet Coke. Yeah.
Of course they can.
Get away with it. Mossy fizzing over new job. She's been made creative.
I wonder how Diet Coke feel about that. headline.
Yeah, true.
From a brand ambassador's point of view.
Yeah. Well, they've signed her up. She's a creative director, and I think, good on her. She's going to she's a model. She's diversifying her, the work that she does and all that kind of stuff. So good on her. I won't have I think this bashing of Kate Moss does annoy me, especially that headline about her pouting lips. So guys, the weekly rushes are going to be a double dosed episode later, because of course we weren't on last week, so I'm carrying some of the news over from there. That'll be landing later today, and there's a live No Name Sunday show tomorrow morning. We will let you know times closer to
because we've got yoga in the morning.
Because we've got yoga, and B, I've got to get through the papers for it, and C, we need to corral the troops and see who's available and what we can do.
Also, you might have seen on my Instagram, Mark and I yesterday started the 1 million step challenge. Now, lots of you I know have diabetes. My dad has had diabetes for the last 30 years. It's a very fucking difficult disease. And Diabetes UK are running this 1 million step challenge where you get sponsored to take 1 million steps over the next 3 months. It's about 10,000 steps a day. So if you'd like to join us in that, I'm going to put a link underneath. Now, I'm a brand ambassador for Fitbit UK and Diabetes UK, but this isn't a paid anything. This is just me passionate about the cause. So I'm going to put the Diabetes UK link under here. And if you'd like to join us, because we'll be chatting about it on and off through the lives. So
I've done my million, so I've won.
And don't forget, if you can't do it all in one day, you can if you go over. Like yesterday, I think I did about 12,000. So if I wanted, I could just do 8,000 today. But I'm not going to try and do 10,000.
So Nads, as we go, just give us a little rendition of Adele for us.
Sky